While I was away, I uninstalled the sugar instance with the Professor M scenario that you saw me use earlier in this video. Then I installed a brand new instance of sugar 7910, which you can see over here on the right hand side of my screen. Now the URL for my sugar instance is localhost 8888/profm, but you can use whatever URL you'd like. Alright, so let me walk you through step by step how to install the Professor M scenario. I'm going to follow the instructions over in the Professor M README. So let me scroll down a bit to get to the installation instructions. Alright, the first prerequisite is that we need to have sugar 7910 installed. And the big point here is to not have any sample data. So when you're going through your sugar installation wizard, make sure you don't select the option to install sample data. So you can see if I click around a bit over in my running version of sugar, that there's no data available. This is a completely fresh instance. Now, if you aren't sure how to install sugar, we've got a great installation guide. You can click here and get more details on how to get to this point here with your sugar instance. The second prerequisite is to have Postman installed, and I've already done that. All right, so let's get started. Our first big step is to install the modules and customizations. So I'm going to download profm.zip. This zip file has all of our custom modules and custom fields for our Professor M scenario. So I've downloaded it. Let me jump back to my instructions, and it tells us to jump over to Module Loader. So let me open the administration module, and I will scroll down until I see Module Loader. Here it is. I'm going to choose a file. I'm going to browse for that profm zip that I just downloaded. I'm going to click Upload. And then I will install it. I'm going to accept my license agreement and click Commit. Alright, our installation has completed. Let's go back to Module Loader. Once the page refreshes, we can see that some of our modules have been renamed successfully. Now, if I take a look at the modules that are currently hidden from display, they just don't fit up top here. We see a lot of modules. It turns out we aren't going to need all of these to do our tutorial, so we're going to hide them. So let me jump over to the administration module again. And I'm going to scroll down until I see the display modules and subpanels page. So let's open that. What I want to do is drag and drop these displayed modules over to the hidden modules. I'm going to scroll up a bit so I can get all of these correct. So let me just drag them over. Alright, riveting video footage, I know. Alright, then now that I've got all of these modules dragged over to the hidden modules section, I'm going to rearrange them a bit so they make a bit more sense for our particular scenario. So I'm going to make sure this order matches what we see over here in step 4. So we've got accounts, leads, contacts, professors, opportunities, revenue line items, quotes, and reports. Now I'm going to click Save. Once the page reloads, we can see that these modules have been reordered. And when I go to view what's currently hidden from view, we see much fewer modules listed. So this is a much more manageable view of sugar. All right, so the last thing we want to do is insert our sample data. Now, we're going to do this by using a set of REST API calls, and we're going to use Postman to make those calls for us. So what I'm going to do is open up this Professor M Postman collection. And this is our set of API calls. So I'm going to save this file to my desktop. All right, now I'm going to open up Postman and import that file. Here we can see our Professor M sample data collection. This collection organizes the API calls into folders, and each folder has one or more requests inside of it. So we can see we've got request to authenticate and then create various pieces of data. So let's take a look at this authenticate call to see what's happening behind the scenes. So we can see this call is posting to our token endpoint, and we're taking advantage of the Postman variables to make this whole process happen a little bit easier and faster for you. So this URL and REST endpoint variable we're going to set just a minute inside of our Postman environment. We can see we're making the call in the body, and then the response is going to come back and a test is going to be run. So each API call has a test associated with it. So what that test does is make sure the request was successful, runs a very simple basic test, and then sets any environment variable that a future API call is going to need. So in this case, we're running our authenticate API call, and we can see we're setting the access token environment variable so that other calls will be able to take advantage of using that access token. So to get things set up, let's go ahead and create our environment. I'm going to create a new environment and call it Professor M. And we're going to need 4 variables to get things started. So we'll start with our URL. I'm going to go jump over to my running instance of Sugar to copy that. The next thing we need is the REST endpoint. I'm going to set that to REST v10. And then we need our username and password for our admin user. And we've got our environment created. So we are now ready to run our collection. So I'm going to hit this arrow button here and click Run. This is going to open up the Postman collection runner. So we can see that our Professor M sample data collection is selected. That's what's going to run. And we want to make sure we set our environment to our Professor M environment that we just created. Now let's run this collection. So this collection has a ton of API calls in it, so it's going to take a minute to run. So I'm going to fast forward through this process. All right, our API calls have finished running. We can see that 191 tests passed and 0 failed. We're in great shape. So let me jump back to my Sugar instance and open the applicants. And here we can see we've got all of our sample data loaded. And if I click around, we'll see sample data in each of the models. So that's all you have to do to get your Professor M scenario up and running. I hope you enjoy the Professor M scenario. Thanks for watching.